Yo, what's good everybody? It is Filmmaker Fridays. I know it's a Saturday, but I do plan on dropping these videos on a Saturday. But essentially what Filmmaker Fridays is as a filmmaker, I want to start making content that's film related, specifically in editing because I am an editor. I want to share this passion with you guys here on my channel. So every Friday, I want to do some film related content, but I want to dedicate the first Friday of every month to a little something called What I Watched. This week obviously will be what I watched in February because February was the last month that we just had. I will be going over each and every film that I watched in the month of February and giving you a small little review on what I think about that film. With February being Black History Month here in America, I tried to keep most of my film selections for the month being films that were either produced or directed or written by Black people or with a mainly Black cast. With some of my film selections, obviously I didn't stick to that, but that was kind of like what I tried to do for the month of February. And so the first film I watched was MarRennies Black Bottom, based on the play by the same name that was written by August Wilson. The film focuses on MarRennie, an influential blues singer, and dramatizes a turbulent recording session in 1920s Chicago. Now, right off the bat, what I love about this film is that although the film is originally a play, they somehow took the play in itself, made it a film, and didn't make the film feel like a play. This is something I've picked up in Tyler Perry's earlier films when he was just coming out of like being a playwright, where a lot of his shows and movies felt a lot like plays, and just the way they were shot, it felt as though I was watching a play on screen. But that wasn't the case with MarRennie's Black Bottom. Somehow the film kept everything that was good about the play, but seamlessly translated it into the language of cinema. I think that MarRennie's Black Bottom was just a feel-good film with a majority Black cast, and there's nothing better than seeing people that look like you on screen. One element that did stand out to me about the film, how they used very warm colors to sort of make us experience this really hot day. Even though it's winter here in the States, while watching the film, I still felt the hotness that the characters were feeling, since the actual film takes place on a very hot day in Chicago. Next up on my list is the Netflix series Ginny and George. The series follows Ginny Miller, a 15-year-old who's more mature than her 30-year-old mother, Georgia, in a New England town. Georgia decided to settle down there with her daughter Ginny and son Austin to give them a better life that she never had. The show is horrible, but I love it. I don't know how to explain it. Even though the dialogue just feels super unrealistic and the way the story kind of pans out feels very unrealistic, there's just something about these characters that have been created that makes them so likable that you just want to keep watching. It sort of gave me the same feeling that I got watching Emily in Paris. Emily in Paris was whack, but I'm still waiting for season 2. To be honest, by the end of the series, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely watching season 2. And obviously because we're in a climate where mostly every TV show and every movie is trying to make a statement about some sort of social issue, that's something that did happen in this show, and it did kind of feel forced because the character is mixed race. It kind of does, like, they really do try and touch on, you know, racial awareness or whatever. It doesn't work, but it does work. I mean, I can't explain it, guys. The show is weird, but I love it. I care a lot. The film follows a court-appointed guardian who seizes the assets of elderly people for her own, only for her to get mixed up with a dangerous gangster. Now, all around, this film was great. I loved it. Loved the way the story pans out. I do feel as though the ending is kind of like, but all around I do feel like it was a great film. A lot of people did say that the characters were like every character in the film was unlikable, and I do somewhat feel the same, but it works. And that's all that matters at the end of the day. It worked. Do I think you should watch it? Yes. One thing I do commend this film for is for creating a very believable world. Even though not a lot of people understand the process of you know, the elderly getting a court-appointed guardian and all of that, the film somehow doesn't allow that to become an obstacle for the story, and therefore creating a very enjoyable experience for each and every audience member. Next on my list is a bit of a controversial one, Malcolm and Marie. The film tells the story of a writer, director, and his girlfriend whose relationship is tested on the night of his latest film premiere. The project was the first Hollywood feature to be entirely written, financed, and produced during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, this film is a film everyone was waiting for. We all know Sam Levinson from Euphoria, and so obviously when we heard, hey, man's dropping a new project, we were hyped, and in my opinion, I think he delivered. And maybe that's because I'm a Sam Levinson fan and I might be a little biased, but I honestly feel as though Sam Levinson made this film for filmmakers. You know how comedians have like jokes that they make for comedians? I feel like this film was a film made for filmmakers. I don't know if that makes sense, but when I looked at people's sort of like initial reviews on Twitter, I saw that a lot of people found Malcolm and Marie's relationship toxic and that made them uncomfortable. My thing is that film is a reflection of people's everyday lives, and so I do think that the reason why this made people feel uncomfortable is because they saw a little bit of themselves in each character. I personally saw a bit of myself in Malcolm, obviously with him being a filmmaker. I haven't fully gotten to that point of art taking over my life the way it does for Malcolm, but I do understand where Malcolm is coming from with his connection to art. A lot of people felt as though the constant bickering was very exhausting, but the reality of it is that life is somewhat like this film. When you have two people, each person is always going to have their own goal, and that's what creates conflict in a movie, and conflict is literally what drives the plot of a movie forward. And in this film, the conflict is literally in our face. It's literally how life is and a lot of friendships are. You and your friend both have different goals, and sometimes your goals clash. And in this film, we see that happen multiple times. Their goals clash, they have an argument, they sort of figure it out, everything's cool for a moment, and then another fight breaks out. And I feel like I understand what people mean when they say it was exhausting to watch this, but I do think that Sam was trying to bring this out on screen. Personally, I understand where people are coming from, but I don't feel like it was exhausting. I enjoy the way Sam kind of developed these characters, brought us into their minds, and sort of allowed us to be a fly on the wall watching this couple argue. Next on my list was See You Yesterday. The film follows the story of an ambitious science prodigy who uses her prowess and capability to create a time machine in order to save her brother who has been killed by a police officer. As she tries to alter the events of the past, she eventually faces the consequences of time travel. I actually did try and watch this movie back in 2019. I didn't get through like the first 15 minutes. I felt like it was kind of boring, but this time I was like, okay, let me sit through it. I do think that the start is kind of slow, but once you kind of get into it, the story does get a little bit interesting and pick up. I do always feel weird about like kid movies that are like science fiction and kids are clearly doing things that kids don't do. All in all, I do think that this is a great film to watch with your family. It's just a feel-good film. Next on the list is Fruitvale Station. The film is based on the events leading up to the death of Oscar Grant, who was killed in 2009 by a police officer at the Fruitvale Station in the Bay Area. Once again, this was another great film. I have nothing bad to say about it. I love the way this story developed from beginning to end. The world of these characters is very realistic. Coogler is able to create this world where we're very invested in the lives of the characters, and this somewhat allows us to go through this emotional journey once Oscar gets shot at the end. The one scene that stood out for me is the last scene where all his friends and his mother in the hospital after he gets shot, and feels as though we're in the room with them, because throughout the film Ryan Coogler has created this world that we've been so drawn into, and we care so much about these characters that when we reach that ending scene and everyone's in that room waiting for news on Oscar, it feels as though we're right there with them, and our hearts are heavy. And I think I just love film, guys. Next on our list is To All the Boys, Always and Forever. The film follows Lara Jean in her senior year of high school, which takes a turn when she comes back from a family trip in Korea and she starts considering her college options. The whole series is just, they're not Oscar award winning films, but yet we love them. Every movie I try to find a reason why, but I can't. I do feel as though the second film in the trilogy had a little bit of a whack ending, but this film made up for that. And I don't know if it's just me, but I feel as though the film just plops us into a final year and we have no resolution as to what happened in the last film. But I'm not complaining though. I'm not complaining, because that last one was I don't know. My only question about this film is why can't Peter just let this hun go to whatever school she wants? Like my G, it's university. Like, let the hun choose what university she wants to go to. Like, let it be, mates. Let it be, bro. The next film on my list is Time. Time is a 2020 American documentary produced and directed by Garrett Bailey. It follows Sybil Fox Richard fighting for the release of her husband, who's serving a 60-year prison sentence. Now, overall, I do think that this is a great documentary. I love the way it's shot. It's all in black and white. But for the life of me, I can't figure out what this film is about. Is it about fatherhood, or is it about getting her husband out of jail? Which is another weird thing, because they both robbed a bank. Like, it's not like he's in jail for nothing. Like, he robbed a bank. It was a weird one, like, yeah, I really don't know. Last but not least on the list, we have One Night in Miami, which is a drama film directed by Regina King. The film is about a fictionalized meeting of Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, and Sam Cooke in a room at the Hampton House in 1964, celebrating Ali's surprise title win over Sonny Liston. Now, remember how I said MarRennies Black Bottom did a great job of taking a play and making it a film without making it feel like a play? This didn't do that so well. I do think that the concept of these four great people getting together and us exploring what happens on that night is very interesting, but I do think as though the film could have done a better job of making it feel like a film. Yeah, One Night in Miami was kind of a miss for me. I'm not gonna lie. It was kind of it wasn't a bad film. It just didn't do it for me. Well, that brings us to the end of what I watched in February. I kind of just did this on a whim, so I'm gonna get better at reviewing films. I'm gonna start like writing notes while watching films and watching them more than once. Let me know what you think I can improve on and what other film related stuff you guys want to see on my channel. If you subscribe, say let's go for 10k. You know, road to 10k, guys. Let's go for 10,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support. I will see you next week Friday with another Filmmaker Friday. You can tell I've not done this in a while.